Welcome to Healing Wisdom, a Thursday morning talk show featuring guests sharing their stories and knowledge. We discuss the healing aspects of the arts, metaphysics, social justice, and adventure through all types of terrain. So join me, Pandora Peoples, here on WOMR 92.1 FM in Provincetown and WFMR 91.3 FM in Orleans. We're streaming worldwide at WOMR.org. This hour of programming is brought to you by Kristen Knowles and Tom Fettig. You can become a sustaining member of WOMR for as little as $15 a month. We're still in the midst of our summer pledge drive, so give us a call, 508-487-2619. We'd love to hear from you.
You can't hear the screams, but so far we've had fires, floods, and now the plague. This empire's dying 'cause it can't face change. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. You can ignore the facts, ignore the pleas, ignore the signs, plot your schemes, it'll just come faster. Last week's obsolete, truth's catching up with your greed. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come.
So welcome, actress, musician, singer-songwriter Ann Stott. Thank you for being back with us on Healing Wisdom.
Pandora, it is always a delight to talk with you.
In May, I know we're going to talk about a lot of things and get to your new music, but in May, you were on the news, on 69 News, talking about climate change, and you shared your music too. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, so I released a song called Water to Blood in April, right around Earth Day, which is a climate crisis song about, the urgency that I feel about our planet and how we need to be taking more action, really not to preserve the planet, to preserve our life on the planet, and but also preserve what is beautiful and important about the planet. So then I went on, Channel 69 in Pennsylvania with the song and talked about it, which was really fun.
I really appreciate the messages that you're putting out on your Instagram, and it's just really refreshing. Did you want to talk at all about any of the issues in the news, even just like a tiny bit? I mean, we are in an interesting turning point here with Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's just so, I got to this point where I was like, I just had so many thoughts and feelings. I just needed to start talking about them. And also it's really interesting releasing music because on the one hand, there's so much going on and people are so oversaturated. And, very few of my songs are specifically about this moment. Most of them were written at least a few years ago. But I really believe that everything I write has a political lens on it. Even this song I'm releasing this Friday, Future Ruin, it's very much about, personal romantic relationships, but it's also what it's about is how we hold on to the past and it impacts our ability to move into the future, which I think is so much where our country is right now. There are people who want to hang on to what was because it served them. And we're never going to stay in the past, right? We have to keep moving forward. And so I feel like talking about what's happening currently as I release this music kind of connects everything up that's already connected inside me, but it sort of connects it outside me at the same time.
I chain smoked in my dream last night. It was hazy gray and crazy bright. There were you, and here was I. Never forget, I didn't lie. I'm building my future ruin from this worn out couch I found. Building my future me down, tear me down. I wished it were a dream that night when we wound up in a fight. You were right and I was right. No wonder I'm alone tonight. I'm building my future ruin from this worn out couch I found. Building my future ruin, a love-struck old movie town. Building my future ruin, a heartbreak merry-go-round. Building my future ruin, come won't you tear me down, tear me down.
I'm just so thrilled by this Kamala Harris phenomenon. But you know what I liken it to? Think of it as like you never saw her quite the same way until that moment you were dumped, and then you're like, oh. You know, like you were here all along, and you're beautiful, and you're so smart, and you're so fierce. You know, you have everything we need.
But I also think you're right that like she's meeting this moment. Like it's about timing too. Like I think we are so tired of Democrats who can't draw a line in the sand around the Republican insanity, right? And I
Right.
think Biden in some ways did a really good job of it, but he did it in that like, aw shucks, nice guy thing he's got.
Yeah.
And like, she's just ready to take him on. And look at what's happening. And this is what all the cowardly Republicans need to learn too. Like, you don't send a bully away by letting the bully be the bully. You send a bully away by standing up to them, you know?
Right.
That's what you do.
Yeah, and to hear and see people's enthusiasm. I mean, I think everybody's united in this.
I'm super enthusiastic too. I do want to say one thing, which is we're doing this interview before the VP pick, and it's probably going to air after the VP pick. And I just really hope that she's listening to the pro-Palestinian people about her VP pick.
It just feels transcendent, you know, hopefully
But I mean, that's the right word. Like, I know, you know, like we transcended a moment, right? Like we were in one thing, and with that one action, we are in a very different story, a very different competition. Like it's all changed.
I also wanted to play at least part of I Can't Hide. It's become the latest like P-Town dance tune. How is it dancing to your song at clubs?
You know, it's actually, talk about transcendent. I'm going to use that word again. Like, it's actually really powerful. Like, I wrote that song about like my deepest, most vulnerable wishes for our little broken world. And that then Barb and Bart took the song and turned it into like an experience people can use to like release and have joy is so moving to me, really powerful. And there are going to be more dance mixes because I just love that like something I create can facilitate people experiencing joy and pleasure and release.
I want the sky, I want the moon. I want so many things, it's true. I want long days and longer nights. I want what's hard, I want what's right. I want tomorrow, I want relief. I want to once hear your heartbeat. I want to reach the whole wide world. I want to dream like a little girl. Don't you know second chance at the first crack. Brooding mornings and sneak attacks. Then one bright flash that changes everything. I want one side that heals all pain. Don't you know that? Don't you know that I've had time? Don't you know that? Don't you know that I want your dreams to all come true. I want us all to see love through. I want a world that can't be bought, to know the truths that can't be taught, to leave behind those fights we fought, to reach beyond what was already sought, to see through each and every doubt and thought, to feel the joy that can't be caught, and to believe, to trust, to hope that we are never lost. Don't you know that? Don't you know that I've had time? Don't you know that? Don't you know that I've had time? Don't you know that? Don't you know that I've had time? Don't you know that? Don't you know that?
Leda and David Iannatelli are going to talk about Embody 2, the Movimento project, which is a contemporary dance concert happening at the Wellfleet Preservation Hall, the Cape Cod Theatre Company, and Thatcher Hall. And that's all beginning this Friday, August 9th.
Is a continuation or is a development of our last year's show, which was Embody. This is called Embody 2, and it will happen Friday at the Wellfleet Preservation Hall. So 9th and 10th, 9th and 10th, Friday and Saturday in Wellfleet, 7:30 at night.
And we're making it about the question of embodiment. And it's a question, is what is embodiment? And I think it's probably different for every person. There's some concepts that are discussed. I mean, there's philosophical concepts, there's therapeutic concepts, there's artistic concepts. So there's some ground for building off of. But I think we're trying to ask the audience to look again, to look and see what they see, and really ask themselves how it applies to them. When have they done that? When have they seen that? When have they felt that in and of themselves? And what does it mean to be a dancer in life? What does it mean to be self-choreographed and creative and creating oneself anew every day? These concepts that have to do with growth and embodiment and spirituality. How does a dance concert impact that? How does a dance concert interact with that?
I can add that it's a celebration of the body. It's a celebration of presence. It's a celebration of living in an embodied way. So basically, that's what it is. It's a body celebration. We bring the body as the center, the core of the theme of the concert. And the new thing from last year to this year, we started last year dialoguing with different art forms, like bringing image and movement together, sound and movement. So we have a couple of new ways of approaching the scene in terms of sound, in terms of image. We have some collaborations there is a local artist, her name is Emmy Heller. So we collaborate with some of her artworks and in movement as well. We have now Nora Bourbon, who works with the pole dancing and the lollipop, and she's also part of the concert. Then we have images interacting with the dancers in scene.
We have a fair amount of scenes too, with Frank Paransky playing live and pretty much improvised. He's got some basic scores, but we've said, you're the musician, so play. And he's more than equal to the task. He's a fabulous musician. So we've been working with him as well.
Yeah.
So it's a
different soundtrack.
Yeah.
We have a system that we have a sound coming out of the dancer's body with a belt. So the sound comes out of the dancer themselves.
The idea would be to come, enjoy yourself, see a little bit of yourself, and leave inspired to
Life.
for life. There you go.
Thank you so much. So today we're speaking with Sydney Painter, owner of Flowers by the Sea Farm and Floral Design. And today we're talking about gardens, pollinators, and horticulture. Welcome, Sydney. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Pandora. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I started my business, Flowers by the Sea Farm, in 2023. I mostly take care of the local Lower Cape area for floral design, gardening, seasonal decorations, pretty much everything that has to do with floral design. I really found my passion with flowers when I started landscaping about 8 years ago. And I quickly became like a horticulture manager at a local landscape company and decided to start my own business last year. When I was a horticulture manager, I took care of the gardens from winter to winter, basically. There's something to do every time of year. Starting in the spring, there is certain prunings that need to get done, especially with your roses, cutting back perennials, taking care of your hydrangeas. And then going into early June, pinching certain perennials so that they can bloom more vigorously and bushier, and then continuing with deadheading, watering, fertilizing, weeding your beds, etc. And then going into the fall, pruning the necessary shrubs and flowers then, and going into the winter, also pruning trees and things like that. And you can use and helping customers with using their evergreens for different decorations around the house.
You want to start with some of the things that probably a lot of us are thinking about right now as we're out in our gardens a lot in the summer?
Yeah, that sounds great. July and August, there are some things to do. It's really hot this time of year, so you kind of gotta manage yourself and the time you spend in your garden. Really early mornings is the best time. Get out of the sun toward the afternoon. It's really simple things like keeping your perennials deadheaded, watering some of your flowers that still need that extra supplementation during these hot days, especially your hydrangeas. If they are in full sun during the midday, they're not going to be happy this time of year and they're going to need water. A good tip for hydrangeas this time of year, knowing if they are getting enough water or not, is if once the sun goes down and their leaves don't kind of puff back up and start looking healthy again, then they're not getting enough water. It's natural for them to start wilting during the day, and they are okay as long as they puff back up at night. That is kind of a good tip. So you don't need to panic if your hydrangeas are wilting during the day necessarily. You have to wait till later. Weeding this time of year is just such a big thing. I really suggest, planting a lot of native plants and planting ground cover so that you really don't have to worry about weeds as much. It really saves a lot of a headache. It's a pain to be out there managing all the weeds all the time. And fertilizing your roses is really important this time of year. And if you have any annuals, it's really good to fertilize every couple of weeks because this is a kind of a stressful year for most flowers. There are some drought tolerant flowers that I would suggest along the lines of nepeta, lavender, St. John's wort, things like that can kind of handle this heat. Black-eyed Susans, if they are established and your bunnies haven't destroyed them, those are some good options. Echinacea for this time of year that can take this heat a little bit better.
You were talking about some of the flowers that need extra attention, roses. So do you want to expound on that a little bit?
I like to fertilize them about 4 times a year, once in the spring, once in about July. I kind of skip August because it's so hot. And then one in September, maybe late fall. The roses really like it then. And, doing any kind of fertilizer that includes something that helps against diseases is always smart as well. They're susceptible to a lot of different diseases, but usually if they have it and you see it this year, as long as you remove all of the bad dead leaves, etc., from around the base and on the plant, for next year, they're most likely going to start fresh. A lot of those diseases happen during the growing year and don't continue to the next year unless there's lingering pieces of that disease nearby the rose to start it fresh the following year. The same with hydrangeas. So that's what's so important about really keeping the hydrangeas and the roses clean around their bases come spring, come those spring cleanups. And then as far as annuals, they usually have fertilizer in them when you buy them. So you don't always need to plant them with fertilizer then, though it won't hurt. But as the year goes on, they can start to not bloom as vigorously, and they're supposed to bloom throughout the summer into the fall. And pruning them a little bit, deadheading, etc., really helps with that to continue that bloom. And also fertilizing about once a month, once every 2 weeks really helps with that as well. Any kind of bloom boost that you see at your local nursery, they have mostly, I see now, they used to have more of a powder that I used to like. Jack's Bloom Boost is one of those. I like to order that on Amazon. But for your local nursery, there are a bunch that are water soluble. You just put it in the water, like your regular watering pot. And it has all these different options if you're doing like a heavy feeding, a light feeding, if you're doing it more regularly. And it gives you all that information that's really helpful for your annuals.
Very cool. So before we move on to some of your favorite plants, do you have any gardening tips that people might find helpful for August or September?
Yeah, in September, let's see. The gardens, toward the end of the year, they start kind of coming to not an end, but not as many things are blooming. A lot of times when we go to the nursery, we buy plants when it's exciting in the spring, and you get all the plants that are blooming for spring and summer. Toward the fall, some of my favorite fall plants are chrysanthemums. They are perennial chrysanthemums. October Glory is one of them. It's a beautiful shade of pink. You just kind of get to enjoy your gardens mostly in the fall. And then toward the end of the season, you want to prune your paniculata hydrangeas. So those are the ones that most likely have a whitish pink blossom that grow on only wood. The paniculata and the macrophilia, you don't really want to touch unless you're going to just deadhead them right under the bloom. But the paniculata, those can get pruned back a lot, or else they're going to get very stringy and not as strong for their blossoms. For roses, you want to prune them in the fall, not too close to snow or anything like that, because having any kind of open wound from cutting makes them susceptible to disease. So when you are pruning your roses, you want to just make sure you're grabbing anything that you think any kind of snow would latch onto and bring that branch down and break. So any kind of wild hairs, any alfalfas, you would say. Good things to prune for roses. And then you do kind of a harder rose prune in the spring after danger of frost, so that it's telling the rose, okay, it's time you can grow, and it's not going to have that danger of the new growth getting zapped and dying, except burlap, leaves, anything like that.
So what are some of your favorite plants?
Oh, I have so many. But some of the ones that I use the most in my designs right now are St. John's wort headcoat, one of my favorite. St. John's wort, you probably know, is a herb that people have used for depression and things like that. It's really good for you. I'm not sure if their variety Hidcote is necessarily used for that, but it is a beautiful shrub. It does really well in the shade and also does well in the sun, which is really cool. It has a beautiful big yellow flower. The Hidcote has a bigger yellow flower compared to some of the other St. John's wort shrubs. That's why I love it so much. And it blooms kind of mid-July, I would say, depending on when you plant it. If it's a new shrub, that always kind of throws off bloom cycle for plants. But not everything is always blooming that time of year, depending on what you have in your garden. So it is a really nice pop of yellow. Yellow is such a happy, happy color. As some other things, I love the dapple willow trees are gorgeous. They're a really good option if you love the dapple willow kind of grassy, beautiful pink branches. And it's hard to have the shrub on the cake because the bunnies will eat it. And the tree really helps so you have that trunk. They can't get to that beautiful foliage. For the spring, I've been really loving grape hyacinth. And it's so fun because you can do all different fun experiments with your kids or for yourself with using the beads of the grape hyacinth and adding anything acidic like lemonade or something like that. And the mixture changes color for you. I believe it's from the purple from the grape hyacinth, and then you add your acidity and it turns more of a pink color, which is really cool. I also have a list here of I've been growing a lot of cut flowers this year because I've started a small cut flower farm. They call it a micro cut flower farm. And there are some things that I really know I'm going to use next year, which is Chinese forget-me-nots. And this is all from seed. So these aren't things that you're going to necessarily find at your local garden center, but are fun to grow from seed, which would be Chinese forget-me-nots. I grew pansies, which were really fun. And they were from Florette, which she's become so popular. So she's a big flower farmer. She has these pansies that have a longer stem. Not too much longer, but you can use them in arrangements. Corn cockle, beautiful. Dahlias, of course. There's different colors of Queen Anne's lace, which is so nice to use here because it is something that naturally grows here, but it also comes in some other different colors. Snapdragons are the best. I had the most fun with tulips this year. There's double tulips, so gorgeous. They kind of remind you of a peony. People always want peonies and things that look like peonies. And you have your double tulips for that. You have your double lilies for that. Garden roses, and then peonies, of course, and dahlias. Those all kind of give you that big double full bloom. But yeah, the list goes on and on. It's so fun being passionate about flowers. So many people are, and it's so amazing. It's such a great community, and it's all about just continuing to learn. There's so many different resources. There's the Master Gardeners, which is great. There is getting your Massachusetts Horticulture certificate. There's even just Facebook groups. There's so many that you can join, learn so much, and it's a great community out there.
Today we've been speaking with Sydney Painter, owner of Flowers by the Sea Farm. You've been listening to Healing Wisdom at Outermost Radio. All of our shows are podcasts at WOMR.org. Also check out healingwisdomradioshow.com and contact me at pandora@WOMR.org. Our theme music is provided by Mason. You can find her website at masonmusic.com. That's MAESYN